Hi everyone, good evening in Beijing time. First of all, I want to thank to Professor Fan, the co-chair of this conference, for allowing my colleague and me to present our initial report of the study that we have done. Also, thanks to Yuling and the committee for a good communication via email and helping me with the technicalities and especially for this recording presentation. My name is Taki, and I'm currently doing my PhD here in Auckland, New Zealand. My co-author and my mentor, Bu Diana, is from Universitas Islam Sultan Agung, Indonesia. And in this presentation, I'm gonna talk about our investigation of geometry in Indonesian secondary school textbooks. So I want to talk about my practical motivation of undertaking this study. It was actually began around 2017 when I was teaching secondary school, and I found out that how sad it was to see that we can actually do better and improve so much of our Indonesian mathematics textbooks at the time. And also it happened that during that time, I started thinking of doing my master, and I came across this textbook analysis as like new emerging research field within mathematics education. So I thought, why not doing this type of research, right? And one thing that I realized when I was doing my literature review is that Indonesia, within like mathematics, education research as a field, is still underrepresented, especially within this like narrow context of mathematics textbook analysis. At the time, 2017, we barely see many people doing this type of research, especially digging into like Indonesian mathematics textbooks. And of course, I hope this is not the case now, but to be honest, however, it seems that based on my knowledge of this conference, I think there are only two titles containing Indonesia word of Indonesia in the titles. So I hope in the future we will see more of Indonesian here. And when it comes to a mathematical topic, we chose to do geometry because it is basically one of the major mathematics topics around the globe. We can see like from Turkey, Singapore, Taiwan, Finland, the US, and then of course China. And also within the case of Indonesia, some research indicated that this topic, like geometry, is considered difficult among students, like from students' point of view. Also from teachers' point of view, it's hard to teach geometry. And according to previous research, Wijaya and the team, they did a research about actually opportunity to learn, and one of the like finding tells us that this poor performance of Indonesian students in geometry can be due to the lack of opportunity to learn such geometrical task. So that's the motivation and backgrounds. And based on those backgrounds and motivation, we are interested in delving into geometry components of Indonesian secondary school. By secondary, I mean lower and upper secondary, or Indonesia it's like SMP and SMA, or sometimes it's translated into like junior high school and senior high school. It's kind of confusing, I know, like and here if we say secondary school, it means like from 7th grade until 12th grade. It can be different from country to country, right? So, and I just want to make sure that we have the same understanding of Indonesian context. Moreover, we are also interested in investigating the issue of reasoning and proving, which can be argued as the heart of doing mathematics. And according to Autumn 2014 and Beckwell and Hemi in 2017, that this issue is argued to be potentially promoted in within secondary school education. It's highly likely to be found in geometry. So here we go. And in doing our research, we employed content analysis method. We investigated the 2013 curriculum of Indonesian secondary school, actually, which had been widely used in Indonesia. And the textbooks, these books, the 2013 curriculum of Indonesian textbook is actually free online. We can download the online version, the PDF version of the textbook for free. Although, like most of, I guess most of the schools actually have have these textbooks. So, to be honest, the choice of this set of books was because it was at the time when I was doing this, it was the most updated complete version that we had back in 2018, I guess. I know it's like now 2022. And I have to admit that now this is not the case anymore. We have a different curriculum, and that's the thing. We hopefully we will update our research with adding the current curriculum, the Merdeka Belajar curriculum. And so for analyzing the reasoning and proving issue, we employed the most widely used framework for reasoning and proving, which was developed and introduced by Stylianides in 2008. And let's discuss the findings that we got here. So first of all, geometry constitutes of around 25% of the total pages of all Indonesian secondary school mathematics textbook. So when we consider both lower and upper secondary school, and it's like 20% of the total pages of mathematics textbooks, it's devoted for 25% of them devoted to geometry. And however, if we separate the lower and the upper, we separate those, we have a different story. While we have, as we can see here, while we have in the lower secondary school, it's like 25% of pages devoted to geometry. In the lower secondary school, only like 15%. And this, to us, might tell a story that when students progress from lower secondary to upper secondary level, they will have less opportunity to engage in geometry. Another thing that we have in our finding is that we wanted to tell the community of mathematics education research about what kind of geometry that we have in Indonesia, what kind of geometry the students learn in Indonesia. So we try to come up with some categories of objects and ideas of geometry. So we can categorize the geometry objects that we learn in Indonesia into 5 things. First, points and lines. Second, polygon. Third, 3-dimensional figures. Fourth, circles, and 5 other curves. And for the geometry ideas, we can categorize those into 5 categories also, which are first, measurement and calculation, symmetry and transformation, coordinates, equation, and the use of algebra. Fourth, congruence, similarity, and the last one is Pythagoras theorem. And so let's move on to the last part of the finding, and this is regarding mathematical thinking or geometrical thinking promoted in the textbooks, in which we used like reasoning and proving here in this case. From the diagrams, we can see what we can see. However, I will tell you the things that are not written there. That are not written first. So the first 3 aspects of this diagram, so identifying a plausible pattern, identifying a definite pattern, and then making a conjecture, those 3 can be considered as like part of the inductive thinking reasoning, or in this case, reasoning part of the framework. Like there are reasoning and proving part. So those 3, the first 3 of these things are considered as like the reasoning part of the framework. And meanwhile, the last 4, the rest, it's part of the deductive thinking, which in this case, like the proving part of the framework. So now, based on the coding that we did and the reasoning and proving framework that we used, we could like geometry task in the textbooks that we have. Based on that, we found that the opportunity to engage in reasoning and proving tasks actually happen almost all of them almost in lower secondary. This is sad, actually. We barely see this opportunity in the upper secondary level, since we can see here, like those are in the upper secondary textbooks only. It's only like 2 tasks that can be considered as like, first it's like making a conjecture and then providing an empirical argument. So another thing that we wanted to say about this diagram is that it seems that in lower secondary level, Indonesian case, our case seems to, at least in the lower secondary, right? Our case seems to take a balance between inductive reasoning or inductive thinking and deductive thinking. So it's like these 3 and these 4. It's like there is some like a balance between 2 of them, because I think previous studies in the US and the UK, at least, I think what I learned from the studies is that this might not be the case. The maybe in the UK, the opportunity to learn the in lower secondary level, there are mostly, for example, mostly the deductive reasoning part of the um framework. So that's all for the findings. I hope you all enjoy it, and please make sure that you guys leave any comments, productive feedback to us. And I guess this is the reference you can see there for this presentation. And also, I want to say that thousands of apologies for not being able to share the joy of presenting in person nor in synchronous with you all. Enjoy your time in China, and thanks for your time and attention. All the best with your research. Thanks so much. Bye bye.